Elora was given the title of most road trippable town in Canada. So I'm going to go put that to the test. Built in 1880, this is the only remaining covered bridge in Ontario. Technically, it's called the West Montrose Covered Bridge, but locals call it the Kissing Bridge. It got its nickname because those crossing on horse and buggy could sneak a kiss in the privacy of the covered bridge. The bridge and setting are like something out of a movie. There's a strong feeling of nostalgia here, and I remember growing up watching movies that took place in small towns, and they often featured a covered bridge. But as I'm recording this, there's only two that I can think of off the top of my head. One is Beetlejuice, and the other is the 2017 remake of Stephen King's It. In fact, the Kissing Bridge is the covered bridge from It. It's featured during the scene when Henry and his goons catch up with Ben, and Henry carves an H into his belly. Henry even mentions the Kissing Bridge and how it got its nickname in his dialogue. The movie It definitely leans into the nostalgia of those 80s and 90s coming-of-age movies like Stand By Me, The Goonies, and other classics that take place in small towns. You've seen this trend with shows like Stranger Things too. And it's easy to see why they picked this spot for one of the scenes, and every place I went on this road trip felt like the intro to a classic Stephen King story. The bridge is 198 feet long and crosses over the Grand River, which is a popular river for swimming, kayaking, fly fishing, and tubing. On this road trip, I'll be following the Grand River north and crossing many more bridges along the way. I'll also be passing through small towns and stopping at gorges, dams, parks, and downtowns, all of which feels like I'm living in one of those nostalgic movies from my childhood. Located just a couple minutes outside of town, Elora Gorge Conservation Area is a relatively small and easy to hike area. Most of the trails run along the edge of the gorge, and you get little peeks at the river and gorge below through the trees. One of the bummers about this conservation area is that I guess it gets pretty busy, and because of that they've put up fences everywhere, which kind of kills the vibe, but it's still beautiful. There's only one access point to the actual water, at least in the area that I was in, which was the north half of the conservation area. To the south is mostly campsites, I believe. Besides camping and hiking, you can actually go tubing down the river, which would be really fun, but that's probably only available during July and August. There's definitely some nice views and interesting features here, but if you're visiting Elora for the day, you don't need to come here to experience the gorge. The first record of Europeans in the area were missionaries in the 1600s who were trying to Christianize the indigenous people. It wouldn't be until 1832 that Elora would be founded by British naval captain William Gilkison of Scotland, who purchased 14,000 acres after returning from India, where he was stationed. Today, there's lots of reminders of those early settlement days. The original mill that Captain Gilkison built in the 1830s is now an extremely popular wedding venue and luxury hotel. And many of the old structures in the original downtown on Mill Street, built out of the local limestone, still stand and have been revitalized and turned into shops and restaurants. A great place to see the Elora Mill, Grand River, and some of the older limestone buildings in town is on the newly constructed Jack R. McDonald pedestrian bridge. As the town grew and developed, the downtown moved up the hill along Metcalfe Street, which is where you'll find most of the shops and restaurants today. There's a great small park right in the center of town with Muskoka, aka Adirondack chairs, and it's a nice spot for a picnic. On the weekend, you'll find street performers playing music, and it's a great atmosphere. Grab a coffee, grab a bite to eat, bring it to the park, and enjoy the scenery and charm of the downtown, and get yourself on Elora time. Downtown Elora has lots to keep you busy. There's a distillery, brewery, lots of interesting and unique shops, and of course, restaurants. I'm exploring Elora over a couple of days. Today is Sunday of the Victoria Day long weekend, and it's so busy. But I'll be back on Tuesday evening when the wave of visitors has subsided. By then, the town will have eased back into its natural rhythms. About a 5-minute walk from downtown, this park offers arguably a better experience of the gorge than the conservation area. I think the views are much better, and the access point to the bottom of the gorge is much more interesting. Lover's Leap offers great views of the confluence of the Grand River and the Irvine Creek. Heading down the stairs, you'll pass some of the 80-foot-high limestone cliffs. At the bottom, the forest opens up to amazing views up and down the river. On the opposite bank, you'll see caves carved out by water erosion over 12,000 years ago. To the north, you'll get great views of the historic David Street Bridge. From Victoria Park, I'm heading north along Victoria Crescent, which leads to the David Street Bridge. The original bridge was constructed in the 1800s. Most of the bridge had to be replaced due to structural issues. However, it's a replica of the original, and it still maintains some of the original structure. Another great place for views of the gorge in town is from the Wellington Road 7 bridge. To get there, I'm continuing along David Street. This is the site of an old factory and dam built in 1909. The factory manufactured farming equipment, and the dam was built to help provide power to the factory. The factory operated here until the 1950s. Converted into a park, boardwalk, and pedestrian bridge, this is a beautiful location along the river. The amazing evening light and breeze are certainly helping to set the scene. In the distance, downriver, I can just make out Badley Bridge and the chimney from the old Elora Mill. The town of Fergus is a very short drive along the river from Elora, but there's plenty to do in between. First, there's the Elora Quarry, which is the town swimming hole. It's not open at the time of filming this, but if you want to see it, just watch it. The swimming scene was filmed at the quarry. There's also the Wellington County Museum and Archives. Unfortunately, I can't fit this one into my schedule, but maybe you can. Once an old railway, this Trestle Bridge has been converted into a walking and biking trail that connects Elora to Fergus. There's a parking lot on Wellington Road 18, which is one of the main roads connecting Elora to Fergus. It's a short and easy walk to the bridge along Trestle Bridge Trail. After taking in the views from the bridge, you can backtrack to the parking lot and take another trail which leads to a set of stairs that take you to the river and base of the bridge. The stone foundations of the bridge were constructed in 1869 and contributed to the designating the Grand River a Canadian heritage river. You get a much better sense of the height and scale of this bridge from the river. And it's another opportunity to get your feet wet or jump in for a swim. First settled in 1835, the original town was named Little Falls. Later, it would be changed to Fergus after Adam Ferguson of Scotland, who first bought land and laid out the town site. Like other towns in the area, many of the early settlers were Scottish, and many of the 19th century limestone buildings still remain. Today, Fergus is home to the largest Highland Games in North America. Since its inception, Fergus has been a small industrial town, which is evident as I walk across the beautiful bridges and walking paths which make up the Riverwalk Loop. I'm visiting on a weekday evening, so the downtown is very quiet, just locals out for dinner or walking their dogs. The downtown in Fergus isn't as charming as Elora, but it's still very nice, and some of the shops look very interesting. Overlooking the river is a restaurant called the Goofy Newfie, which looks like a great place to eat. This would make a great stop on your road trip for a drink or a meal overlooking the falls and the 19th century architecture. Located a couple minutes upriver, this park features the old Fergus Mill and Dam. The historic Caldwell Bridge on Scotland Street spans the river and connects to St. Andrew Street and downtown. The reminders of Fergus's Scottish heritage are everywhere. Built in 1942, this impressive dam is located inside Bellwood Lake Conservation Area. It was built to help control flooding and provide additional water to the city of Waterloo, which is about 40 kilometers away. Above the dam is Bellwood Lake, which is a 12-kilometer-long reservoir and is a popular spot for fishing and boating. The dam is pretty huge and impressive to see in person. Make sure to head down to the river for views looking back up the dam. But if you hear a loud horn go off, get back up those stairs as quick as you can, because the water level is about to get higher. The dam not only provides water and flood control, but it also provides hydroelectric power, which provides enough energy to power hundreds of homes in the area. Elora is the jewel of this stretch of the Grand River, and it's easy to see why. It's a town straight out of a postcard or a movie. With stunning gorges, bridges, and a beautiful meandering river, I could have spent way more time exploring the endless riverbanks, trails, and streets. So, is it the most road trippable town in Canada? Well, it's easy to see why it was given the title. But I haven't done enough road trips in Canada, so I can't say for sure yet. I'll need to plan more road trips to really verify that claim. For now, I have to head back to reality. And as always, at the time of filming this, I don't know exactly where I'll be next. But I know I'll be out there exploring, and I invite you to join me. So hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
Let's not waste time, we'll take this slow. We've got miles behind us, but miles to go. So let's just break this down to the simplest truth.